Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. As promised, today we're doing Mercury in, well, not today, but yeah, in this video we're doing Mercury in Sagittarius through the houses. And if you didn't watch my previous video on Mercury and Sagittarius, we were just talking about the basic archetype of Sagittarius, Mercury energy, and what everyone who has a Mercury and Sagittarius person will experience and how they interact with everybody, and just the general description like that. I mentioned themes of not being able to communicate thoroughly unless they're speaking the honest truth, or unless there's a reason to communicating, because if there is no reason, then they're gonna stumble and fumble over their words, and that's why they don't like small talk, because they feel like small talk has no purpose, and there's nothing to expand on with small talk, because small talk really belongs to the Mercurial Gemini, specifically Gemini babies, because Mercury and Virgo people, they also don't fuck with small talk, but that's more so because of the making sense and why things don't make sense and whatever. In this video we're doing, as I said, Mercury and Sagittarius, and I don't know why this lighting, this lighting is kind of bad, but let's just get right into it, bro. Let's do that shit. Anyway, so Mercury in Mercury in Sagittarius in the first house for all my Sagittarius. Okay, perfect. Mercury in Sagittarius in the first house for all my Sagittarius risings. So these, once again, first house rules your appearance, yourself, really just the relationship that you have with yourself. It is the just the relationship that you have with yourself and how you handle your own personal issues, how you handle your personal insecurities, people, places, and things that are in your personal life. People who know you like that will fall under your fourth house and your first house, really, because they know you like that and they know you personally. So that's first house shit. But with that, because first house is very based on me and the relationship that you have with yourself, this, and mind you, it's a fiery house. The first house is a fiery house. Wow, I hate that this is so blurry. Jesus Christ, it's making me mad. It's making me furious. Okay, I think that's better, because there's just this part that's like doing the most bad. Just don't pay attention to it. Listen to me. Anyway, so Mercury in Sagittarius in the first house, right? These people can be a lot more like self-centered, and here's the thing with fire signs, that fire signs naturally gravitate towards narcissism, because it's fire, and fire can't necessarily connect to anything without burning it, unless it's air, which helps it, which helps with combustion and shit like that. But if it's earth, earth, it's gonna burn earth to its purest form, and then if it's water, it's just gonna create that steam, and then that steam becomes air. But if it's air, then it has a better flow of working or whatever. But generally, Mercury in just fire signs in general, as I say, they will tend to narcissism, or I guess being self-orientated, or kind of not being able to, once again, connect to other people unless those people have an expression or fire, so that their fires can come together and create a bigger fire. You know what I'm saying? But generally, having a Mercury in Sagittarius in the first house, these people will definitely tend to, thinking about themselves a lot, And here's the thing with Sagittarius energy is that it's not necessarily so like stingy like a Virgo or Capricorn would be. Just because of that generosity and knowing that if I give, then I'll get everything threefold, because of fucking Jupiter that blesses you guys with everything you want eventually in your life, But generally, like, having a Mercury in Sagittarius in the first house, these people will probably be they don't really, it's like they'll struggle to see where other people come from, because here's the thing with Sagittarius, right? It's very spiritual, faith, religious base, so what you will be thinking about are your own morality and your own moral systems and your own spiritual systems, or your religious systems, or how you see the world. That's what you're constantly thinking about. You're constantly thinking about how you see things, and you're constantly thinking about how you kind of how you, I guess, categorize, or let me say, how you zoom out and how you look at the world. You know what I'm saying? You'll constantly be thinking about that in your own perspective. And it will be very difficult for you to jump into kind of understanding other people's perspectives who don't have at least similar views to you. At least similar. Not, maybe it doesn't have to be entirely all the way, but at least similar. If people don't view things or are into the same things as you are, or have as I said, similar perspectives or topics, then it'll be very difficult for you to communicate with these people or connect to these people. And then that's when you will jump into being the super ultra rude one to people who, or let me say disrespectful. You're gonna give mad disrespectful vibes to people who don't see or view things the way that you view things, you know. And then you might come being a preacher. Here you come being a fucking preacher, you know, preaching the Bible or whatever, preaching the what to whoever doesn't view things the way that you do, you know. And in that sense, you could be a very difficult person to be around. I mean, sure, you're funny. Listen, you're very funny. But when it gets to, you know, the serious shit, like when you start talking your shit and then people are like, I disagree. Here you go, throwing a big fat temper tantrum and then being like, okay, you guys are a cage. Then you start feeling like people who don't view things the way that you view them, you're going to view those people as a cage. Which technically is, I guess, the right thing to do because, you know, fuck with people who are on the same vibe and same, you know, frequency as you are, you know. But for the most part, yeah, for people who don't fuck with you in that sense, like it'll end where it is right there, and you will feel like, okay, there's no point in even interacting with you because we are on completely different pages, chapters, books, whatever. So let me not cage myself into arguing with someone who won't or can't or does not see the things that I see, you know. Because in that sense, yeah, and the thing is, like, I would feel like you obviously have your, and listen, everybody has their own way of viewing things, but you're very grounded, and that's the thing, Sagittarius energy it is very fucking stubborn in that sense, you know, and adding it to the first house, it just makes you blind to seeing anybody else's, because once again, first house deals with self. So, you know, just, I guess, continue with that shit. And I feel like these are also the type of people who at school probably didn't... Listen, this is also a theme for all Sagittarius Mercuries, you know, generally. Like, y'all will probably not like being at school just because you would feel like, well, what's the reason, you know? What's the reason at the end of the day, you know? But obviously, because everybody grew up differently. So, if you were the type of Sagittarius person who did continue school up until the last year of, you know, matric. In South Africa, we have matric, which is the last grade 12. You know what I'm saying? That's what we call it, matric. But if you were the type of Mercury and Sagittarius person who made it all the way to matric, then you're probably the person who really didn't take school that serious. And I'm going to say that this is a theme from all Sagittarius Mercuries, like no matter what house you have it in, you know. Or maybe the third house you probably fucked with it. Or in 7th house and 11th house. Maybe not 11th house. I think 11th house would give you like more sciencey, physics type of person. But anyway, in the first house, you were probably someone who you probably were very rebellious to even school generally, because you felt like, wow, what the fuck does school have to do with me, you know? Especially when you got older and started developing your own thoughts and ideas about shit, you know? You might have thought like, what the fuck does school have to do with me? And then you probably were the type of person who was like, okay, after high school, I'm doing my own thing, because school is a cage, and after that shit, I'm free, you know? And you were willing to tell your mother and your dad and whoever shit, bro. You were willing to move out of the house as soon as possible if it meant that you didn't have to, you know, conform to what they wanted you. You know, if you had parents that forced you or had ideas for you to go to college, you know, you wouldn't mind bailing on them. So yeah, moving on to Mercury in Sagittarius in the second house, right? So we know second house rules, you know, your value systems, things that you value and things that you have. You know, you have a brain, you have a house, you have thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Everything that you have and you possess will essentially lead to things that you value, you know, and things that you feel like you can offer to the world as a way to gain more security systems, you know. So that exchange of, hey, I have the resource here, this resource is valuable, and I would like to exchange it for, you know, another resource that you have that I will essentially value, you know, that type of thing. That's why currency and money is that whole, I have money and everybody values money, so it's like if I give you this currency, this value currency, then you can give me something that I will value, aka, you know, clothes, shoes, food, whatever, etc. So having Mercury in Sagittarius in the second house for all my Scorpio risings. Scorpio risings. These are the type of people who I would say, like, okay, second house, having Mercury in the second house does entail that you have a great voice. And, you know, with Sagittarius, you probably have a raspy voice. Probably have a very raspy voice, which is so fucking sexy to me. But I think these people, it's very similar to the first house in that sense, where like they value, listen, you value your own spirituality, you value esoteric knowledge, you value you know, tarot, and you value all things occult and taboo, right? You value that shit because that shit essentially gives you the wisdom and the knowledge for you to navigate life. And that's something you value, like navigation and just being wise. You value wisdom. Generally, dark wisdom, light wisdom from all your experiences, right? So in this sense, it also kind of similar to the first house is that it has this emphasis on you know, because from the first house to the sixth house, it'll be about you, and then from the 7th to the 12th, it'll be about considering somebody else, you know what I'm saying? So with this, it's more so like what you speak about are your own value systems. You are constantly talking about the things that you value. And what do you value? You value your own wisdom, and you value truth, you value honesty, you value people getting straight to the fucking point, you value you value fucking honesty, really. You just value that. So in your interactions with people, you're probably someone that doesn't, like, it's very difficult for you to connect with people who don't value their words, because you could be someone who values your words. Like, you could take what you say not necessarily serious, but how you take your communication is like, what's the reason to this? And then when you do communicate, you communicate obviously very passionately. So you may feel like people who don't do that, they don't value what they're saying, and they don't value their words. So then in that sense, you will feel like, oh, that conversation is a cage because I can't connect to that passion. I can't connect to that because there is no passion. You know what I'm saying? And then this is when you can kind of detach mentally, and then you just leave a conversation, and then someone is talking alone, but you're looking at them, but you're not really there in the room. You know what I'm saying? In that sense. Or maybe you could be the type of person in the conversation, you kind of, you're the type of person that's analyzing if someone, if they're like, you know, because you could, for example, if I'm a Mercury and Sagittarius person in the second house, I will be able to sniff out if someone is only saying something because they heard it from somebody else, and now they're just regurgitating information, you know? Because even in that sense, you will realize, oh man, this conversation is also useless, and then you'll feel like that's also a cage, because what the fuck, like, this didn't come. It's like you value conversations where it's like, you know, someone has experienced that and they have wisdom on what they're saying because they experienced that, you know, and you love talking to people like that because that's essentially how you communicate. You know, you're always communicating from a place of experience, and you value that. So when people come up to you and they're not communicating from a place of experience, and they're just communicating from regurgitated information, then it's difficult for you to connect, you know. And you may not necessarily understand that, you know, everyone has their way of communicating things, and even if it is in regurgitated information, you know, it's just interaction, and everyone needs to interact with people. And once again, you understand all of that shit, but you also understand the importance of you know, surrounding yourself in conversations that you do want to amplify. You know, you want to have more meaningful conversations, but it's also like, dude, you can't always have meaningful conversations. Like, not everything has to have, we could talk shit, but I also think you do be talking shit, because listen, Sagittarius is hella funny, bro. Sag energy is hella funny. So I think maybe you also would have like some kind of restrictions and boundaries as to how much you entertain specific conversations. Like, maybe you want to learn how to small talk, just so you can do it a little bit, you know, because sometimes, like, in conversations, you need a little bit of small talk to break the ice, you know. Like sometimes just jumping into like a whole like deep conversation is kind of like, oh wow, shit, wow. And you may not give a fuck because you may be like, let's just get to it, but you know, you just need like, that's what a Libra or Mercury can teach you, is how to just build a conversation, because they exalted in Saturn, so they know how to be building conversations with people. So you can learn from your sextile sign Libras how, you know, even like a little bit of small talk can break the ice. So that's something that I will recommend. Be around a Mercury and Libra person who can teach you how to like do that, because you may be very extreme in how in your views and the way you think, and you may be like, I don't want to talk to anybody who's small talk, but it's like, my dude, bro, like then you might as well not have no homies. But at the same time, there's probably a lot of people in the world that are like you, so I guess just find them, you know, just do whatever, bro, experience your own shit. I'm just giving some advice so you understand how to navigate like other situations. Like maybe you're, you know, applying for a job, or like you are speaking to someone that you really need to speak to, but you know what I'm saying, you just kind of need to learn those lessons. Because listen, and you all about experiencing, so you need to experience I mean, not say need to, I don't want to make you feel like you have to, like you don't have to do shit I tell you, bro, but like as advice, like you're on my video, so might as well, you know what I'm saying. But like that's what I'm saying, like, because sometimes you may need to be with someone who would even feel kind of attacked, you know, with that, because you have a Scorpio rising, so you naturally exude that intensity. So learning how to build a conversation, that's something you will really benefit from, rather than constantly valuing like getting straight to the point all the time, you know, because that getting straight to the point helps sometimes, but not all the time. So, you know, balance is a very important thing. And once again, balance is something that you can be taught by a Libra, but the right Libra, because the wrong Libras will teach you how to be indecisive. You know? Fucking hell. Anyway, yeah, so that's that. You guys just value wisdom, honesty, getting straight to the point. Period. So yeah, moving on to Mercury in Sagittarius in the 3rd house, right? So Mercury is home here. So the Mercury in Sagittarius person will do a lot better for all my Libra risings who have this. My brother has this shit, right? So here, this also kind of helps. Listen, it kind of helps with how you communicate, because this 3rd house has to do with your environment, you know, the lingo you were taught from the language that you were taught from living in the area or in the environment that you live in. I live in South Africa in the East Rand, and in the East Rand we communicate kind of differently. Well, yeah, is it kind of, yeah, okay, maybe not. Let me say I live in Johannesburg, and in Johannesburg there's a different lingo than there is to, you know, people living in Cape Town, and there is to people living in Durban, and there is to people living in PE. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has their own, like, way of communicating. And the Gemini 3rd house constellation has to do with that, you know, just the environment and what happens in a specific environment in a neighborhood, you know, your friends and shit, people that you're familiar with. That's all things 3rd house. So having, you know, Sagittarius here, so naturally with you being a Libra rising, you have all your signs in their opposite houses. So even just having a Libra rising with Sagittarius in the 3rd house is very similar to having a Sagittarius Mercury, right? But with Mercury being in the 3rd house, it kind of helps with the communication, you know. It kind of helps with, it's like you are someone that knows how to, if all else fails, you kind of know how to fall back into the language that you grew up around, you know, because that'll be the anchor that you have. It's like, you know how to, basically you just anchor, you have the ability to anchor yourself with the language that you grew up around. So when you move into different areas, or when you start interacting in different areas and you start exploring and, you know, leaving your hometown and going to like different neighborhoods, then you know how to, like, your anchor, because listen, you'll still have some issues with communicating, but if you are anchored, and because you will know how to anchor yourself in, as I said, the language that you grew up in, that it'll be a lot more easier for people to kind of understand with you and to kind of have an interaction, because even in that sense, you will have known how to interact with people just based on how you grew up in, you know, you'll know how to have these conversations with people, because you would have studied, and this is the thing with the Mercury in the 3rd house, you would have studied how other people communicate. You would have studied the people that you grew up around and know how they talk and not how they do shit, you know, and then that'll somehow be, you know, an anchor for you to take that wisdom those experiences that you learned growing up, and then you can apply them to other people, you know. So I feel like with this, you probably like, you could be a kind of a quick talker with this placement, because I know Zoe Kravitz has this, and she's an actor, you know what I'm saying, but she's very grounded in, and obviously she grew up around her dad and her mom that are musicians, and obviously she had to talk a lot because I mean, you know, those vibes, because she's famous and her mom does what she, you know what I'm saying, those vibes. But generally, like, I feel like she has an anchor on how to communicate, you know, and as she builds with that communication, it's like you start to gain a broad philosophical understanding on the importance of talking in general, you know. So you may be the Mercury and Sagittarius person that is very adamant on learning how to communicate thoroughly and kind of growing out of those mumbling and stumbling patterns that, you know, this placement has for you. You know, you would want to grow out of that shit. You want to grow out of like just struggling with communication, and you want to learn how to communicate a lot better, you know what I'm saying, that type of thing. But I think naturally this would make you a lot more observant, you know, like a little bit more detailed in how you do things. Also very friendship based. I feel like these are the type of people who have a lot of friends, and friends from different areas of the world, you know, and they all just somehow, it's like you're the type of person that, like, you either live in an area where there's a lot of people from different foreign countries that come, and then you make friends with those people. Or you could be someone whose friends also live a bit far away, or maybe you live far away and then your friends come visit you, or you visit your friends, or that type of situation, you know. Yeah, but naturally how you analyze the world and how you process things is always going to be in a way of, you know, like wanting to understand how to better your communication and how to expand your ways of bettering your communication with people, that type of thing, those vibes. Let me make this a bit, ooh, okay, yeah, those vibes. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's that situation where you'd want to, like, kind of better your understanding on how to even communicate with people. So if you're a musician with this, then you're probably the musician who wants to, you know, better themselves in like, I guess, thoroughly, like, if you have verses, you want to, like, get better at spinning your verses, that type of thing. I had another point, but shit, I forgot about that. But yeah, guys, Mercury in Sagittarius in the 3rd house, these people essentially are, like, a lot better at communicating, you know, and are a lot better at, like, I guess, being a lot more analytical in that sense. But obviously themes of stuttering could still be present, you know. But I think with involvement, and as you get older, you kind of grow out of these things, and that's essentially what everyone with the Mercury and Sagittarius wants to do. But yeah, the honesty themes are still there, the brutal honesty themes are still there, but they're more so lighthearted now, you know, because I think you are very friendship based with this particular placement, and you are other people based. Also wouldn't be surprised, because this is very similar to what's this? Oh no, it's actually not, my bad. Forget about that. But these, I feel like you're also very friendship based, you know, and you're probably the type of person that likes to, I guess, hook up or have little romantic flings with your homies, you know, especially if your homies also come from you know, different parts of the world. Oh, there we go. You guys are you guys love learning new languages. That's the thing I wanted to say. You guys are it's like a lot more effective for you to learn another language, because Sagittarius rules other cultures, you know. So I feel like you probably be someone, you would be friends with people from different cultures and different wada just for the wanting to learn experiences from, you know, their cultural backgrounds and essentially learn their languages, you know. That's something that is very thematic with this. So it's very easy for you to pick up or grasp another language, and even just grasp other people's interpretations of the world. I feel it's easier for you to trust another person's way of understanding the world than it is for you to trust your own way of understanding the world. Those vibes. But yeah, that's Mercury in Sagittarius in the third. Now moving on to Mercury in Sagittarius in the fourth house. So we know fourth house has to do with your family, your upbringing, your roots, your your childhood, that type of shit. Excuse me. So having Mercury, and listen, the fourth house rules Cancer, and Cancer is exalted in Jupiter. Right, so we can even say the fourth house is exalted in Jupiter too, because that's basically the same shit. But yeah, so this kind of adds like a double Jupiter emphasis, but with this it's gonna add more of a connectivity where you are the Mercury and Sagittarius person where your beliefs stem from your childhood. So you're probably the type of person where if you grew up a Christian, you probably connect with the Christian values and shit. You were Virgo rising with this. Yeah, but you're Virgo rising, so you either like a mixed race hun, or your family members were just either alcoholics, or you grew up around chaotic people or overly religious people, or family members who would fly around a lot, so you had to be the only child, or you had to raise yourself, because you could go in many ways, or you maybe just have had like very flaky family members. But generally, just depending on how you grew up, in the faith systems that you grew up with, spiritual systems that you grew up with, you will probably be someone who builds into that. Like you either build into it, or you kind of like see those teachings as a cage, so then you grow out of that, and then you probably the person that becomes the atheist, or maybe you're the rebel of the family, and you're the only one that is not a Christian because I don't know, a Muslim, or whatever you are. Maybe you grew out of that shit, so now you're not that. So now you're the family member that you're the one that escapes those religious views or those teachings and moral systems that you grew up with. But generally, I find that with having Mercury in Sagittarius in the fourth house, these people usually stick to the spiritual or faith or religious systems that they grew up under, and they usually just build on that. And then if they're around people who don't resonate with those teachings or those morals or those experiences, then they usually see those people as cages, or they see those people as people that they shouldn't be around, or also they see these people as people who will cage them with other ideals that don't match how they view the world. It could either be that, or you could, as I say, you could be the rebel one who you may have felt that your parents even used religion to cage you. It may be in that you may have realized that your parents use religion to cage you, so then you break out of religion, and then you see all religion as a cage, and then you like, fuck religion in general, I don't want to do this shit, and that's when you step into detaching out of your family roots. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. I feel like maybe it could be more of that, maybe that one, where you detach out of your family roots, and then you just see, like, because once again, with Sagittarius, it's going to be broad, so you're not just looking at that one particular religion, you're looking at all religions. Like, every religion out there is a cage, and every religion is out there to cage me in, and you don't want that shit, so you would rather not be religious at all, because Sagittarius can be an extremist in that sense. You like, fuck religion generally, I'm not doing this shit, or you just rebel against the teachings that were taught to you from childhood, and then you create your own systems that do align with how you view the world, and you align with things that make you feel like you're connected rather than constricted or restricted. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. But it really will depend on on other aspects and shit. So it really it could be either or, but most of the time, you're definitely, how you analyze people, you judge people based on like obviously what they say. Like, obviously you're gonna connect to what they say, and then you can kind of feel out the type of person that they are depending on guess their beliefs, and you can even feel into how they grew up based on their beliefs. And then you would probably be the type of person that you don't fuck with specific people if, once again, they don't have similar beliefs to you, because then you will feel like, damn, I'm wasting my time being around niggas who aren't on my vibe, and then you'll dip, you'll never see them again, and that'll be fine with you. So yeah, that's that. That's the vibe. But yeah, I think you guys are very, like, you're very spiritual. I think maybe sometimes you comfort people with spirituality, and your comfort and you feel at home around people who are in the same, spiritual systems as you, because then around these people you don't have to feel like you have to hide what you truly believe, and that's the and that's the thing with the Sagittarius energy, is that it doesn't want to feel constricted in that way. Because if you are around people who don't see things as you do, you will essentially feel caged, or you'll feel like you have to hide them because you don't want to be judged, or you don't want to be ostracized. Or you may be the person with you may be the Sagittarius fourth house person who judges people who don't believe the same thing as you do, or because then you feel like, I can't emotionally connect to these people, and that's how you analyze people, by emotionally connecting to their faith and belief systems. And that's essentially also how you heal people, through your faith and your belief systems. So this would be, I feel like you would be a pastor or a preacher with this, that definitely would be a pastor or a preacher with this. I mean, having a Mercury in Sag period will make you a preacher, but like with this, you will probably, you will probably feel from a very young age that you want to be a preacher, because when you do speak, you speak from the chest and from the heart, you know what I'm saying? You really believe in everything, and you really connect to everything that you say. So this would definitely be those quiet Mercury and Sagittarius people, and then when they do speak, it's like, damn, all that passion, bitch, you what? Weird, you know what I'm saying? Those vibes. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So moving on to Mercury and Sagittarius in the 5th house, right? So these people, 5th house, we know has to do with expression, because this is the house of Leo. It has to do with expression, forms of entertainment, how you entertain yourself, what you choose to be entertained by, and how you entertain other people. It's how you have fun and enjoy yourself. It rules kids, children, because of that whole joy, fun element. We all live to have fun, we all live to feel good in some shape, way, or form. It also rules hookups, the honeymoon stages of a relationships. That's 5th house shit. Just all types of having fun and enjoying yourself and being expressive and goofy and loud, right? So having Sagittarius here adds a double emphasis on the fire energy, because as I said, this 5th house rules Leo. So with this, these are the type of people, like, these are the very, very, very loud Sagittarius. Oh my god, these are what Leo risings, and listen, being a Leo rising already entails you are dramatic as fuck, right? So having Sagittarius Mercury, you are so fucking dramatic, but you're so fun, but you're also the type of person where people kind of feel like, whoa girl, you're a bit much now, and you will find those people to be a cage to you, because you don't want anyone telling you how much, or because listen, it's Jupiter and then it's the sun here, so this is a large amount of energy, like this is a large amount of vitality that you get. And if you have this as your sun sign, if you're a sun sign Sag and Mercury with this Leo, bitch, you are loud. And you are so generous also. You're loud and you're generous, and you just always want to have fun, and you don't like being around people who always want to like be on some sad shit. Because you, once again, like with Sagittarius energy, it's like, if we choose to experience like a sad moment, if we choose to sit here and sulk, we're just gonna experience or expand on more experiences that make us want to sulk. But if we're happy and we're laughing, then we want to experience more of that energy, So that's how Mercury and Sagittarius person in the 5th house will think. They don't want to be around anyone. If they even get the slightest sense that they're around someone that's like, boring, or they feel like they want to sit here in a pity party, they're going to be out the door quickly with the quickness, bro. They don't want none of that shit. They don't want to feel restricted or confined to feeling like, oh, like, damn, now because I mean, listen, we could do it for a while, but essentially Sagittarius energy, especially in the 5th house, it's going to want to uplift the energy so that we're all having fun. 5th house shit, We essentially want to have fun, so let's have more fun so we can do more fun shit, and then discover more things to do that are fun. Let's just have more fun. But in that sense, it could also make you kind of like a psychopath, where it's like, bitch, like, you're finding joy even in the most scariest situation. Dude, what the fuck? And then to you, it's also like, bro, we don't have to, it's like, for you, how you think is like, we don't have to take things seriously if we choose not to take things seriously. Or you don't have to choose to see the situation in a bad light. Like, you can choose to see the situation however you want to choose it. And because there's so much fire, once again, fire doesn't connect. Fire burns through anything it touches. So you're also just seeing through the reasons as to why people even feel the way that they do. you know, and because once again fire doesn't connect, you have your own way of seeing things, and you would have your own way of expressing a situation, because you have your own way of viewing things, and that may be very different to the people that are around you, who are, you know, looking at things from their own point of view, be it mundane or in an emotional way or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has their own way of viewing things. So you essentially, you know, you view things the way that you view things, and you're very unapologetic to how you do that shit, you know? So in that sense, it can, and because listen, you can't tame fire unless you pour water over it. So maybe a good water sign can, you know, flood you with emotions and make you feel like, damn, wow, shit, bro, you know? But for the most part, it's also, you just, like, you want to be free to express yourself however you want to, because you feel like that expression is honest, and you look for honest expressions with other people too. And it's very easy for you to see when someone is giving a fake or made up expression, you know, because you understand that it's ingenuine, and because most of the things that you do are genuine, because you're so, what's the reason based, you know? Like, you do everything with a purpose too. Very similar to the Aries shit, you know? And when you're around niggas who don't do that shit, it makes you feel caged in, because it's like, or it kind of makes you feel like you can't connect to these people, or like, damn, why are you fake and phony? And then you do or say some shit that kind of confuses people or makes them feel agitated or kind of nervous around you, you know? Or because you essentially just seek out honest experiences and honest reactions and just honest everything. That's really what you're about, you know? So I think even with school, you were probably the drama kid. If you were, like, hopefully you were in a drama school, or you probably were in a drama school with this, you know? If you probably were a high school dropout, because you probably would think, you were thinking, what is the fucking point of studying science when I don't give a fuck about science? And then you start looking at school in general, like, what the fuck is the point of this? Because I don't give a fuck about this in general. Like, the whole... And listen, this is Sagittarius, right? In the 5th house. 5th house, Sagittarius, that have nothing to do with routine. Like, this is all fire now. And forming, unless you have a Virgo moon, hopefully you have a Virgo or Capricorn moon or a Taurus moon that will help you, you know, stabilize and ground yourself, so that you learn the importance of of routines, or you have like a stellium in the 6th house, hopefully, because if not, then you're the messy Mercury and Sagittarius person. Your room is fucking messy, You're very messy, just your shit is all over, you know, but you don't necessarily view it as important to have things in order, because you will feel like, wow, what's the point of doing this if it's just gonna get messy all over again, you know? You're just very childlike in that sense, but it's nice to be around you because you have a refreshing, energizing aura to you. But to someone who's really not in the mood, you could be very annoying, because it's like, bro, how are you always so hype all the fucking time? Like, all the time. How are you always ready to turn up all the time, you know? And in that sense, it can just be like, dude, and that's when you can kind of fall into those opposite sides of Gemini and Libra, where it's kind of like almost superficial, or it kind of almost seems like you're always faking that shit. But to you, you know you're not faking that shit, because with you putting yourself in the energy of wanting to have fun, once again, you always want to have fun, you always want to experience that. But it's also like, dude, learn the fucking difference, bro, because not every situation calls for us to be on 100. Like, sometimes we need to keep it on those chill degrees, like keep it at 40 degrees, keep it at, but at the same time, I feel like maybe it could be difficult to do that because you just have so much energy, you know. But, you know, you'll figure it out. Just get around some dope, either get around other fire signs or get around air signs, because if you're around earth signs, shit, if you're on a Virgo, especially a Capricorn, Taurus, they're gonna be annoyed of you forever, bro. Forever. Or maybe do that, because they could teach you how to just calm that shit down and transmute your passion into, you know, getting shit down, like being passionate about a job or a career or something, you know. Maybe you're into comedy. I know with this you're definitely funny and you're into either stand-up comedy or making comedy videos. So just do that, you know. Take your passion and get money off of that. That's something a Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus will teach you any day, period. Moving the fuck along. Mercury in Sagittarius in the 6th house, right? So this is it's square house. So this is for all my Cancer risings. So listen, having a Mercury in the 6th house. Mercury is very homey, and Mercury loves to be in the 6th house because, you know, Virgo, and Virgo's ruled by Mercury. Great. But, and this is also going to be very similar to having a Mercury. Having Sagittarius in the 6th house is very similar to having a Mercury, Sagittarius and Mercury, right? It's just more so the practicalized version of it. So this would probably be, this will make you a lot better at planning things. But listen, for you, listen, 6th house, I keep saying listen, but I mean, anyway, let's move on. Move the fuck along. Mercury in Sagittarius in the 6th house. 6th house represents things that you do on a daily basis, your habits, your routines, you know, your job, things like just think of everything you do on a daily basis. You brush your teeth on a daily basis, you eat, some of us smoke on a daily basis, whatever. You smoke weed, smoke cigarettes, some people drink on a daily basis. Whatever, anything and everything that you do on a daily basis, that will fall into your 6th house, right? So having Sagittarius here, naturally you probably incorporate, you know, forms of escape in your daily routine, such as like smoking weed, because that, you know, that's a form of smoke, and that also just takes you away from the mundane way of really doing life. Other people I know with the Sagittarius 6th house usually either drink a lot, or they just you guys, you know, you always establish or formulate your own ways of coping in a job. You probably even have like an unregular job, like a weird job that allows you to have freedom. Like you choose when you want to do things. That's something that you guys would thrive in, like when you have the option to choose what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? That's something Mercury and Sagittarius people love to do, because it's more so like if somebody tells you what to do, you'll see that as a cage. And once again, if you see that as a cage, then you're gonna escape that cage by whatever means necessary. You know what I'm saying? So, especially with school, you probably were the type of person that was absent a lot, or you wanted to be absent, or you just bunked a lot because, you know, if you didn't feel like doing that shit, then you didn't want to. And hopefully you weren't in a super strict school that, you know, had cameras everywhere, and you know, because if it was like that, then you would probably be the type of person that would just bunk school and just not go to school completely, you know, because you wanted that option to do whatever you wanted. Even with work, you know, if a work doesn't cater to you having your own hours, then, or choosing your own hours, or choosing what you want to do, then you probably didn't, you know, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted because what the fuck. But yeah, sorry, anyway, but if you didn't have the option to choose what you wanted to do, then that was a big struggle for you. You know what I'm saying? That was like, you know. So how you essentially establish your life is you kind of create how, or maybe let's say you kind of flaky with how you choose, or how you like flake, or like your daily routine changes a lot. Because I think for you having a similar routine to do things feels like a cage to you. You know what I'm saying? Like if, like going back to the whole school thing again, you know, going to school on a daily basis may have felt like, oh my god, I'm going crazy right now because what the hell is this shit, you know? Or you may have felt like even just really doing anything, having the same skincare routine or waking up at the same time, you may feel like, oh my god, what the hell? Like there's no freedom in this, like what the hell? You know? So then you learn to include or have your own ways of doing things. So whether that was changing up your routine, switching up your routine, which essentially is healthy to you because you need a good change. You need a change in scenery. You need a change in your room where you are, the people you're around, so that your body feels healthy, because 6th house also rules your body. You know what I'm saying? But I think even if you didn't have the option to do that, and let's say you had strict parents that forced you to go to school on a daily basis, then you were probably the student that came to school baked as hell. You came to school drunk as hell. You came to school, you know, whatever, just anything that made you feel like you were kind of leaving reality. Because this is the 6th house. 6th house is an earthy house, so it's, you know, earth ruled. And then Sagittarius is fiery. You know what I'm saying? And even though both the 6th house and Sagittarius are mutable, their mutability expresses itself very differently, you know. And then for Sagittarius, it'll be more so just the freedom of, I guess, movement and moving around, whatever. And then for Virgo, the 6th house, it's more so the changeability of, I guess, scheduling their things, or kind of knowing how to bounce back if this particular thing didn't happen, and then having a plan to essentially make it. You know what I'm saying? It's just very different how they express their mutability. But For you, it's very crucial for you to have your own way of directing and navigating your own life, and you probably include, forms of spirituality in your daily life. So these are the witches, bro. These are your brujas. In South Africa, we have what's called amasangoma, which is basically the same thing. Amasangoma. So you could be that type of person, that on a daily basis you practice spirituality on a daily basis. Even your job could be, you could work at like a crystal shop with this, or you could work at. See, it's like for you to have a daily routine, you would have to align or assign a purpose to it. You would have to assign like a higher reason, purpose, broad philosophical purpose to it. So once again, if it has to do with I guess expressing your own creativity, or if it aligns with your own spiritual systems or your spiritual views, then you will probably do better at that. But either way, you're just gonna find a way of escaping. If it doesn't pertain to what your beliefs, then you're probably gonna want to escape that. And that's just that. Period. So yeah, moving on to Mercury in Sagittarius in the seventh house. So seventh house has to do with the relationship that you have with the external, or anyone that is external to you, and kind of viewing yourself externally, or experiencing yourself from how people perceive you. That's the seventh house. Or just relationships, your partners, romantic relationships, co-worker relationships, brother-sister relation, that type of thing. Anything where you have to interact with a person from a one-on-one standpoint, that's seventh house. So having Mercury and Sagittarius in the seventh house for my Gemini risings, also very similar to having a Gemini. No, never mind. That was Cap. But yeah, having Mercury and Sagittarius in the seventh house, these people are not the loyal kinds, or not the monogamous kinds. And I think that's also just a theme with Sagittarius energy, because it's similar to having a Sagittarius Venus. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It's similar to having a Sagittarius Venus, where you are not necessarily monogamous, and if you were to be monogamous, it would have to be with a person who shares the same belief system as you. Because once again, if things don't align with how you see the world, how you broadly connect to God or whatever, or if it's not someone that can teach you things, or someone that you can like explore things with and then essentially get wise with, then you will see this as, well, what's the reason, what's the purpose of even being with these people, what's the purpose of being in this experience if it's not gonna align with what I have going on. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, that's what kind of makes you non-monogamous, because you essentially, and not even just that, just the knowing or loving the freedom of knowing that you can stretch your hands as wide or as small or as up as down as you want it to be. That's something that you thrive off of, because Sagittarius and Gemini, that whole opposition, that access is the freedom one. It's the freedom thing. It's the freedom to say, do, change your mind whenever you want to, do whatever you want to, without having any restrictions. There's no restrictions there. You know what I'm saying? So with that particular energy, or that way of just being, that particular that energy, Sagittarius is really just the energy. With that, it's difficult for you to just stay grounded or anchored in your relationships, because how you relate to people is always going to be from a perspective of learning from them. And if you feel like you can't learn shit from someone because someone has nothing to offer that can teach you something, then once again, it's like, what's the reason of being with you? Fuck this shit. And then you start seeing, maybe you might even realize that, okay, maybe I can learn something from many different people. So what's stopping me, or why should I restrict myself from getting to connect? Or and those connections can be in forms of having sex or dating or whatever. You may feel like, well, everybody has something to teach me, so why not give everybody a chance, And in that sense, you kind of strip yourself out of a subjective way of viewing interactions, and you look at it more of an objective way. You're like, okay, well, let's just see what the whole world has to give, because there's wisdom in every experience, and you feed off, like, your life force is experiences and wisdom. That's what keeps you going, and purpose generally. And once again, going back to, if there's no purpose in an interaction, then you feel it's a cage to you, and it essentially is a cage to you. Because once again, Sagittarius people don't really fuck with that small talk. But with this placement, because it's in the seventh house, so I would know. I feel like you guys would be very good with technology, and you're very good with you're just very good with technology and handling Yeah, music, technology, phones, gadgets, all of that shit, you know. And if you find a purpose in knowing how to navigate, you know, technology and gadgets, then you would probably fuck with that. And you probably the person who wants to know everything about how a phone was made, how a laptop was made, who made it, why they made it, you know, those vibes. Those vibes. But yeah, also I think with this, you probably very much just like your opposite sign, Gemini, you tend to be very forgetful. You could forget people's names. You could just be forgetful of people generally, just because you expand in dating. Like you probably have dated a lot of people in your life with this placement. You probably have a lot of exes. If you my age, you probably have mad exes, bro, and exes with different lengths of how long you dated them. Like you have exes that you dated for a week and it didn't work out. You have exes that you dated for like 8 months, it didn't work out. You had exes that you just had a fling with, situationships. You just have a lot of like exes, bro. Either ex-girlfriends, boyfriends, or just ex-situationships, ex-flings, whatever. You just have so many experiences with relationships, and I feel like you gain most of your wisdom from, you know, dating, and just you gain wisdom about people from the relationships that you have, you know, and you understand people's motives for even dating. Like you probably the type of person that looks at dating like, why do people even date? You know what I'm saying? And then with each relationship that you have gone into, you start realizing, oh, okay, people date each other because every human essentially needs closeness. So every human, you know what I'm saying? That type of thing. Because you still have that detached way of analyzing things and shit like that. Those vibes. So yeah, that's Mercury and Sagittarius in the... So moving on to Mercury and Sagittarius in the 8th house. So we know 8th house has to do with, you know, secrets, taboo, death, sex, things that you keep in the closet, you know, things that you keep in the dark, trauma, regenerating your power, where you get your power from, power and control issues, you know, this is where we get that from. Power and control issues, backstabbing, just all those dark, gloomy things, but essentially gaining power of yourself and having self-empowerment and self-motivation. That's what it is, self-motivation. That's 8th house, all of that shit. So having Mercury and Sagittarius in the 8th house, this is definitely the Sagittarius person who's a lot more quiet for all the what. This is for my Taurus risings. I think, yeah, you definitely someone who's very quiet. Like, you don't talk much. Or, you know, once again, you will probably be someone who values action over communication, because once again, you feel like actions speak louder than words. And with the 8th house here, you're also very skeptical. This adds a double emphasis on, you know, having a reason, like putting reason to your communication, because you are quiet, you speak when spoken to, or you speak only when you have a reason to speak. Because if you have nothing to say, then you may not really say anything. But when you do essentially say something, it has an intention and it has a reason, because of that 8th house. And because you're so intention and reason based, you naturally know how to pick up on people's intentions for things, and then you're able to understand the reason for why they even had that intention. You know what I'm saying? So for example, when you're around a group of people, or maybe you're interacting with a specific person, you can kind of sense out their intention of why they're talking to you. So maybe that person likes you, right? So then you would sniff out, oh, okay, this girl likes me, or this boy likes me, that's why they're talking to me. And then you further, you know, expanded with, okay, the reason for them liking me is because of this and this and this and this. You know what I'm saying? But you may not necessarily communicate that, you know, because you may have issues with communicating those things, but you definitely can sense it, you know, so you know how to act in a specific way that could either make someone feel like, okay, yeah, we can continue this, we can vibe. Or you also show specific signs and residuals that you're not interested or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because you also know how to exude an intention so that someone kind of gets the message. So it's like, in that sense, you communicate with mysticism in that sense, or you communicate, you know, with your eyes, or you just communicate with your energy, and you communicate with your body language, or, you know, your facial expression and shit like that. And then in that sense, and the thing is, you might find, you know, you're around air signs, or someone who has like a Gemini sun in the 11th house, who doesn't really know how to connect to mysticism, or doesn't know how to communicate back to you through mysticism, or understand that. So they'll keep probing at you and asking you, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then in that sense, that's when you do speak, you have like a very harsh reaction or something, or maybe you just ghost once again, you know, because you would even find someone like that being suspicious, because you would be like, whoa, why are you using so many words to try and understand, like, what is it? You know, that's when you get into that 8th house back of being very suspicious or being untrustworthy. But because you have that Sagittarius aspect, you kind of understand the reason, and you understand that, oh, okay, she's or he or they are just someone that needs to, you know, communicate. And you'll understand that, oh, I'm not someone that needs to thoroughly communicate, because you communicate in your own ways and your own mystic ways, you know what I'm saying? That type of energy. So yeah, that's the vibe. And I feel like with this particular placement, you're someone that, like, I definitely feel like you are into, you know, astrology and tarot, but you may not be someone that likes to announce it, or like you keep that sacred, like you keep your thoughts sacred to you, or you would only want to, once again, like, because this, you're a very deep thinker with this sense, or you, like, the way that you even interpret the world is a very deep intuitive way, like you don't really live in the external way, or you don't really, you don't externalize your thoughts, because you may feel like, well, what's the reason, you know? And the way that you even think doesn't align with the energy of how people interact in general, especially in spaces like, you know, parties, or spaces like, you know, where small talk is promoted. You know, you wouldn't thrive in those situations. So you may feel like, well, I don't have to go to that party because that party doesn't resonate with my thoughts, and it doesn't resonate with my, you know, how I analyze things. And you really view your thoughts as sacred, you know, or you hold your thoughts very secret, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. Oh shit, oh man, y'all see that? Anyway, I was like, ooh, look into the mirror. Woo. Damn, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, but yeah, with this, oh my god, now I'm blushing. But anyway, with this particular placement, you're somebody that, like, as I say, you hold your thoughts very secret, you know, so you only feel like, okay, I can only expose my thoughts to people who align with how I think too. And most of the time, I know where I live, a lot of people don't align with the things that I do and the things that I'm into and how I think. So it's kind of like, well, shit, like, guys, I have to keep this a secret because no one else can, you know, understand this shit. So you also tend to, you know, using these forms of outlets like YouTube or IG, and then you can obviously find your own soul group that thinks and communicates the same way that you do, you know? It's all about kind of, you know, learning how to do your own vibe. But hopefully you do have some kind of Aquarius or whatever in you. But I really feel like maybe you could be one of those people that you do go out, but you don't really say much when you go out. You probably was the one laughing, and you don't really expose what you think about things, because you know when you open your mouth, people are gonna be like, what? And then you don't want to feel that vulnerable. You don't want to feel like you have to explain yourself. So you just probably keep, like, you learn how to just keep your own thoughts to yourself, and then you just learn how to navigate the world, you know, in another way. Like, oh, just laugh it out, laugh it away, or whatever, you know. Maybe you're the quiet friend. Who knows, whatever. But yeah, that's moving on to Mercury and Sagittarius in the 9th house, right? So this is a double emphasis on the Sagittarius energy, because, you know, Sag is ruled by the 9th house. I mean, now 9th house has to do with, you know, traveling and other ethnic groups and culture, learning about spirituality or religion, learning about just the deep philosophical ways of understanding the world outside of the mundane, knowledgeable things, like being like book smart. Like 9th house is more so street smart, and then 3rd house is more so book smart. That's the little polarity. But they both smart, but they just smart in different areas of life, you know. One is more so concentrated on, I guess, the theory, and then one is concentrated on the practicality, you know, so actually experiencing, like actually putting yourself out there, whereas the other one is just more so about, let's study about it before we actually do it. And then Sagittarius is more so like, let's just do it. So having Mercury in Sagittarius in the 9th house, for my Aries risings, I would not be surprised if you are a dropout with this. I really wouldn't. Or maybe you're not a dropout, or maybe you're someone, because the 9th house also represents higher education, right? Which could be like university and shit like that, or studying further than that, getting a degree, honors, or whatever. So you might not have been, you know, super what's this? You may not be the typical, I mean, it's typical, but you may be someone who really values studying, but you study too much and you never really do anything about it. Like Lynn, if you know Lynn from Girlfriend. Lynn has so many degrees, but she doesn't really do much about it. So you could be that type of person where you like studying a lot, but you never really do anything about it because you just like studying and you're very good at studying, and because you love picking up on, like, you just love learning different things. You just love the process of learning different, especially if it has to do with like learning a different language, or learning like what's this, color therapy or Reiki. If it has to do with learning or whatever, even getting your honors about something, you may just love learning that. If it just gives you an astute way of understanding the world, or getting the most broad way of understanding that specific topic, then that's ninth house, right? So it could either go in that way, or it could also just go in the way that you just don't know how to talk. And even you may love being sociable, and you may love going out and hanging out with friends and doing all that, but you're the friend that's very aggressive also when you speak, because you aggressively want to get what you say out, and maybe people may not understand that, because they may look at you like, damn girl, why are you so angry? But for you, it may just be like that passion of wanting to get it out of you, but sometimes it's like you don't know how to get it out of you, so you kind of could keep it back. Or you have other outlets to release what you have to say, like aka making music, poetry, whatever. But for the most part, it's just like you have, I have a Mercury in my ninth house, but it's in Libra though, so I guess I have a better advantage. But listen, I also know, like, I have this struggle with communicating with people, because it's like how we think is so broad-minded, and it's like how we communicate is like, for example, someone with a Mercury in Gemini, let's say in the third house or like in the seventh house, they may effectively communicate, wow, I like her hair. Like, I think her hair is really nice. And then for us, with the Mercury in the ninth house, you take it a few steps further, and then you start thinking, wow, like, I wonder why we have hair as humans, or like, what the fuck, like, why do what is the purpose of hair, and how is hair even made? And then you start thinking about these other things, like, just broadly, and then it's like people don't always care about that, So then you may also kind of feel like you have to keep your thoughts kind of like hidden in that sense, or it's just very difficult for you to communicate that, because I guess some people don't know how to relate to that, and when you try to speak, it's like the words also have a hard time coming out, so you also may get frustrated from that. And then because you're in Aries rising, so you may want to attack that frustration, and then just do it aggressively. And then in that sense, people look at you like, bro, chill out, but they're not understanding the passion of you just wanting to release it, So it could be that those situations where you even find just talking in general, just you don't want to talk that much, and it's you are probably the person who but you probably, listen, you have your third house in Gemini, so I think that would kind of help, especially if you're in an area that you're familiar with, where you can kind of thoroughly communicate things, I think that would help a lot better. But I feel like if not, then you're probably someone that doesn't like to talk at all. You would also be that friend that you do go out and you do, you have jokes and you add on to jokes, but you just, like, you reserve your communication to people who want to extend that communication as much as you want to do it, who want to have conversations that are like broad and philosophical and honest. Really, you want to have honest conversations with people too. And just, I think the way that you may communicate may be, once again, very aggressive, and you understand that, okay, some people don't like aggressiveness or passion, or they can't handle it, they can't handle the heat, so that you keep quiet, because you understand that, okay, there's an X amount of people who will react this way to how I communicate from experiencing it in the past. So then you understand, like, oh, okay. And because you are a Sagittarius Mercury, so you have those extremes where it's either you're extremely doing it or you're extremely not doing it, So you're either going to be extremely honest, or you're extremely quiet, or you're just extremely not saying anything at all. Those vibes, Those vibes. Yeah. smells so good. But yeah, these guys are the super wise ones. I think you're probably the friend that everyone comes to for advice, because you just naturally exude just wise energy, you know, and you are a leader also. You just naturally exude the fact that you know what's up, like you know what's up, and you always, and essentially I think you always do. I mean, not always, because I mean, you also, I feel like you know what's up, but you also don't want people to make you feel like you always have to know what's up, because you may feel like, bro, I'm living on this earth just like you. I don't have all the answers, you know, just go ahead and experience that. And even with that advice, that's still, you know, a wise thing to say, because that's the truth, bro. Like, we all on the earth, we're all trying to figure it out. You know, you just may have your own way of looking at things and seeing things, and the way that you explain it to people may be like, oh yeah, because you give them a different perspective, you know. So in that way, you give them wisdom. So you make everybody understand that, hey, if you can adjust your way of looking at things, you can kind of get a better perspective of something. And in that way, there's wisdom, you know. So I think essentially when you give people advice and give it to them in a different perspective, you're just teaching people to look at things from a different perspective, so that they don't have to need you to give them any advice, because you don't want to be categorized in that, you know. Even though you are wise, and even though sometimes I think you mostly give advice when people aren't expecting you to do it, or if it's not like, you know, a responsibility for you. Because I mean, naturally you are a preacher, you're very preachy. Like, you may start some shit, like you may literally make someone angry, you know, you're making them angry, and then be like, you just back away and then be like, listen dude, we should stick together, because we're, and then you know, you start preaching that shit, and then, you know, when you start preaching, no one wants to fight anymore, you know. So I think in that sense, you could also be on that Libra vibe where you can be a mediator, but only you're a pastor, and no one wants to argue with the pastor, you know. No one wants to argue with the man of God, or those vibes, you know. So yeah, so moving on to Mercury in Sagittarius in the 10th house. So 10th house has to do with your reputation, you know, your career, the public, how other people see you, how the other people see you, like people who don't know you like that, how they see you, how you're perceived in the public. It has to do with your career, who you're known from, your reputation, as I said that. And just the essential, I guess, business that you have, or whatever mask that you show to the world. That's 10th house. So having Sagittarius in the 10th house for my Pisces rising, you guys are constantly thinking about how you can broadcast your wisdom to people. So these are the type of people, if you're not already doing this, I feel like you're the type of person that wants to capitalize off of your experience. You would be someone who would, you know, like, I feel like your dream job or your dream life would just to travel for a living, you know. You'd literally travel and get paid with that shit. And, or maybe you could be the type of person, like, you travel and you, like, I feel like you would love to get paid to go visit cities and then review the cities, and then, you know, tell people where they should go, what they should do, ABC, you know what I'm saying? That would be something that you would definitely, I feel like you would be interested in, the Mercury in Sagittarius and the 10th house. But generally, I think you're also constantly thinking of how you can, in your way, make your own experiences favorable to you. So you could also jump into that user bag, like using people, like, because listen, you understand people, and you're a Pisces rising, so you understand, and you listen, you have your Gemini in the 4th house, so you know how to communicate, and you know how to manipulate also, right? So you would probably, because you understand how to connect with people, you may also want to use the experience and the wisdom you have on being manipulative, or, you know, I guess talking your way in situations or in groups. So you may want to use this wisdom and then use it to your own advantage, so that you can, you know, get to the reputation or the career that you particularly want to do, you know. Or you always kind of, like, I think, listen, with having Mercury in the 10th house, naturally you always consider how people view you. You always considering that. So you also may feel like that's a little bit of a restriction, because at one end you don't really want to care about how people view you, but on the other end it's also like kind of do care about people, you know, because you're always taking into consideration how people see you. So you maybe want to capitalize off of how people see you, you know. So you may be like the super guru person, or you may be the person that's always going out, you know. I also feel like this could be a good career indicator for someone who's, you know, like those club girls, that are, or club managers. You could also be that, you know, because you're being known for being in fun situations. Or maybe not even that. You could also be a guru, like Sadhguru or Osho, where you're known for being the wise guru that you are, or a pastor. Or you can actually be a teacher, like teach astrology, teach tarot, teach ABCDE, like where you even teaching about relationships. You can just teach people about the wisdom that you have, and then people essentially know you as being a teacher. And I think that's something that you gravitate towards too, like wanting to be known as being the teacher, or wanting to be known as the person that knows better, or wanting to be known as the person who, you know, like always knows what's going on and just has some kind of wise words to say. You know what I'm saying? And if not, you always want to be known as the person who travels, or you've been through, or you're probably the person that likes talking about that. Like you ever been around someone that always talks about like the places they've been through, the places they've been to, and things they experienced? Those are probably Mercury and Sagittarius 10th house people. They love talking about things that they, you know, places that they went to, things they experienced, things they did, you know, just giving, I guess, unsolicited advice, and yeah, just talking about their experience about that. And I think they like being known for being people who have done A, B, C, D, E. They've gone to A, B, C, D, E, you know, they've done the most and they've left their mark, and now they have the story to tell. So think about that. You can get into that, you know. But yeah, generally these guys are super, I mean, they are goal orientated, but I think also their goals are rooted around their own beliefs and their own spiritual moral systems. So also learn to incorporate that, you know, because the 10th house and Sagittarius are like a semi-sixth house, so it's a little bit of a frustration with that, but that frustration can be fixed just by adding your own morality, or getting into a job, or getting into a career, or getting into a reputation that aligns with your own morality systems, you know, those vibes. And then so moving on to Mercury in Sagittarius in the 11th house. 11th house has to do with your associates, your associations, people, places and things that you are associated with or acquainted with. You know, it deals with the unknown, the existential, you know, knowing that like we are not alone in this human experience, and that there are other planets and entities living in different parts of the universe. You know what I'm saying? That's just like, that's the 11th house, that's the Aquarius energy. So it's this outer body but outer world, out of the box type of experience, you know. So yeah, so having Mercury and Sagittarius in the 11th house, this kind of helps also with your communication, but this will definitely bring you a lot of friends, especially friends from different areas of life, because I think with your Aquarius rising, shout out to Aquarius rising gang. I'm an Aquarius rising too, as you can see by my forehead and my abnormally large eyes. Yeah, vibes. But anyway, having Mercury and Sagittarius in the 11th house, these people, as I said, naturally always gravitate towards like connecting to people that are living from different, you know, foreign, like, listen, I'm South African, right? So I would, if I had a Mercury and Sagittarius in the 11th house, I would gravitate towards speaking to people who live in Asia, or speaking to people who live in, you know, Greenland, or speaking just different parts of the world that have absolutely nothing to do with my own upbringing, that have absolutely nothing to do with my culture and my views and my language, you know. These are the type of people that love connecting to those people because they feel at home, they feel more comfortable, especially if you have this with your moon, like if you have a moon Sagittarius too in the 11th house, or just really having 11th house placements like a stellium, even your sun sign, or you have your first house lord in the 11th house. But it's gonna turn to that, you know, because listen, it's Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules different cultures, and then it's Aquarius that rules, I guess, different species of living things that are outside of even of Earth. You know what I'm saying? So it just really gives us overly abundant detachment from the human experience, you know. You probably someone that doesn't, you probably don't even, if you're a shorty, even if I do with this, you probably don't fuck with cooking or doing anything mundane or domestic or even routines. You probably suck with having routines. Like, you just live life off of really just whatever reason that you have on that particular day, because it changes within day to day. If it entails freedom, you are with that. And if it means in any way you're gonna get bored, if it means in any way you have to persistently do that particular thing, then you want to detach from that. So this has to do with your thought form. So you probably someone that wants to expand on different ways of thinking about existential things, or just expand on thinking about, or just having different friends. Or you probably someone that already has many friends, like from maybe let me say you have a lot of acquaintances that you have from different. You probably just have a person, and listen, with 11th house, this also has to do with science and technology and broad, like social media, like IG, WhatsApp, whatever. Specifically IG and Twitter and YouTube, they're giving more 11th house vibes. Like, you have a lot of internet friends, but you also have like a lot of friends from where you are and from different parts of where you live. So if you had to go party there, you already know you have a place to stay for a while. Or if you have to go up there, then you already have friends. And even if you don't, it's so easy for you to make friends, because you naturally gravitate. People are gravitated towards you, and because you just have this energy about you, especially if you have this in your sun signs too. Because I know Nicki Minaj has this shit. Nicki Minaj is a Sagittarius sun, and Mercury and Venus, and all her Sagittarius placements are in the 11th house. So you can already tell, like, she has a broad following, right? But I'm pretty sure wherever, because she came from Queens, and then she lived in different places, so she had homies like different places, people who could help her out. And then she also attracted a very famous dude, aka Lil Wayne, to help her out. So this is also definitely an indicator for someone who would get like famous real quick, or have fans maybe not quick, but like eventually you will have that, and from different areas, and you'll be able to you'll be previewed to working with different people from different places and different states and different whatever, just because you have the natural energy of aligning with just different, like, you feel home in difference. You feel uncomfortable with routines and familiarities because you already feel like, damn, well, I already knew you, so there's no adventure there, or there's no knowledge or wisdom in those experiences because I've already experienced them. So let me go into situations and people and places that I don't know and I know nothing about, so they can teach me things, because this is definitely the student. Like, you love learning about shit, especially if it's gonna blow your mind, or if it's about, once again, existentialism, or if it's just different to your everyday mundane shit, because doing things and having a mundane life may be very depressing to you. And then when you get into that feeling when you feel like, damn, I've already done this, then that's when you can kind of get restless and, get destructive in that way, But if you're not already, like, you're probably super into social media with this, or you could also be very much into your, what's this? You could be into, just into technology in general. I always forgot that thought, bro. I was like, fuck. Like, come back, bro. But yeah, you could just be super into technology and gadgets and shit like that, and wanting to understand how to use those. You could also be very much into the deep dark web with this, very similar to the Scorpio and the 11th house. So you could be into the deep dark web with this shit, or maybe you just want to understand why there's even a deep dark web. But yeah, also, if you're female with this, you have a hella alpha energy, bro. You have hella, like, masculine energy with this particular energy. Those vibes. But yeah, you guys are naturally really smart, I guess sometimes you may hide that you're really smart and highly intelligent for the right time, or when someone, attacks that, or belittles that, and then you can, sharpen your words and sharpen your whatever, and then that's when you aggressively attack back with your honest words, But if not, you think you're just a generally cool person to be around, and people fuck with you. People love being around you, and people love being around your energy, and just, because you're funny, you're cool, you have cool things to say. That's you, bro. And yeah. Moving on to Mercury, last but not least, we're going to move on to Mercury in Sagittarius in the 12th house, right? So 12th house is also ruled by Jupiter, very very similar to Sagittarius, but what am I saying? But the 12th house rules Pisces, right? So it's still a square with the Sagittarius, and that Pisces is still a square, even though they both ruled by Jupiter. It's just that Sagittarius is the masculine version of Jupiter, and then Pisces is the feminine Jupiter expression of Jupiter. But yeah, with this, You are somebody who, listen, and having Mercury in the 12th house is also a fool. Mercury is debilitated here in the 12th and in the 9th house. So you definitely someone that does not communicate, because you overly question communicating in general, because how you also communicate is through mysticism. How you communicate is through vibes, and also showing, like you show, excuse me, you communicate your feelings, or it's like you also think in feelings, or you, I guess, analyze things in feelings and expression, you know, where you kind of like, when someone interacts with you, you're kind of picking up on the expression and then and how they feel when they're saying that shit, you know. So you kind of can pick up the state of being that they're in. So you're not necessarily looking at what they're saying. Like, you could really care less about what they're saying. You probably don't even pay attention to what they're saying. You're just picking up on, like, the state of being that they are in. Like, are they feeling good about this, or are they, you know what I'm saying, are they owning this, are they saying it with their chest, are they, you know, kind of shy about it? And then that's how you that's how you process things. You kind of process it in a way of, how is it making you feel also? And because you're a fire sign, and you also, it's in a water house, so you're also connecting to the expression of how someone is saying that, and you're connecting to the feeling, you know. So when you pick it up in your own nervous system, you're picking things up as like, how did that make me feel? And did that make me hype? Did that make me feel sad? Did that make, you know what I'm saying? That's how you think about things. It's like, damn, how did that affect me? And then that's how you would respond back. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, yeah, I get you. You know what I'm saying? But it's really just all about how it makes you feel. And that's something that I've realized with all water and fire sign Mercuries, or water and fire sign in the houses Mercury people. You know, it's all about how you're expressing yourself and how you're making someone feel, because that's how you connect to people, and that's how you that's what you're looking at. It's like you're emotionally intelligent in that sense, you know. But communicating for you is just a very big downfall. And you may be the really shy introverted person where you don't like saying too much. And let's say you do say things, you know, people never know what you're saying, bro. I'm gonna be honest, niggas never know what the fuck you're saying. This is for what? Capricorn, right? Capricorn, come on. And with the Capricorn rising, I know you have Pisces in your 3rd house. I mean, come on. Talk about, you probably always look lost, my dude. You always look fucking lost, my dude. And when you do speak, no one really knows what you're saying. But they always know that you're a nice dude, and you have the vibes, you know. You give the vibes. But I feel like it doesn't have to be entirely you don't communicate at all, you know. You could be a very bold communicator. It's just, once again, if you don't have those catchphrases, or if you don't have those little phrases that you say that anchor you and you anchor your communication, or let's say, hopefully you have some kind of air, like you have a Libra moon or Libra Venus, or even a Libra Mars, or some kind of Aquarius Mars, Aquarius moon, that helps you communicate a lot better, you know, helps you out with that shit. But if not, girl, it's difficult for you to talk. But you are very creative. You are so creative, and you are so plugged into people, to the vibes, man. You know the vibes. You know the vibes. You always know the vibes, because that's how you look at the world. That's how you analyze the world, is by picking up on the vibes. It's like kind of like you feel through people's words. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it is. You just feel through people's words and kind of feel out if that was a genuine thing, or if it was just, you know, maybe they said it because they were nervous. You know what I'm saying? You feel those things, and then you react also with your body, or you react with sounds, you know. Probably, That's you. That's you. And then when you text, these are the bad texters. You guys are the bad texters, you know. But it's also like you're a bad talker. So I feel like you're someone that would just prefer to just be in a room with someone, you know. So in that sense, you also probably don't have many friends in that, you know, in that way. You don't have many homies like that, because you naturally just have, or maybe you surrounded yourself with people that understand that about you, and then you guys never really have to talk unless, you know, it's necessary. You have to talk. But yeah, I guess. Oh, it could also be just the fact that you hide, you know, because 12th house also has to do with everything that's hidden in the unconscious mind, or in the subconscious mind. So you could also be those naive Sagittariuses that are naive to just people. I don't, people. Maybe not saying. I mean, you could be very naive to just how people think. Or maybe you could also just hide, your own thoughts, and you could be one of those people that camouflage yourself as somebody else who does know how to speak, knowing damn well that you are not that type of person. It could be anyway. Other than that, Mercury is debilitated in this placement, Sagittarius, and in the 12th house. And you probably also had struggled a lot in school, which had probably been very discouraging, which had made you feel like, what is the reason of this anyway? And then, you figured out that I want to have my own outlets to communicate to the world. And because you have a Capricorn rising, you were like, I'm going to use this outlet as a way to give me stability and, long-term stability. Really, that's what it is. So that's just your thing now, and that's how you communicate, and that's how you express yourself to people, and you just figure it out. You always figure it out. It's always a journey. So yeah, that's done with this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. In my next video, we're gonna be doing Mercury and Capricorn, and then Mercury and Capricorn through the houses, as we always do. Thank you. I want to just give a shout out to everybody that is acknowledging this specific series, like the signs through the houses, because this should be long as hell and I'd be tired as hell, but I want to do this. And I acknowledge everyone that is acknowledging the work that I am putting into this. And yeah, guys, if you want a reading from me, hit me up on my IG. Everything will be linked below in the description. I can get a reading, get a popping, get a book a reading with me. Wow, this whole thing is just weird, bro. You can tell it's Mercury and Sagittarius, bro. Like, Mercury is suffering right now, and all the Mercury babies, all the Virgos and the Geminis are like also suffering too, bro. But whatever, we move on, we push. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching and tuning in, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.